Welcome to Music and the Spoken Word. We're behind the scenes with Kathy Clayton, a greeter for music and the spoken word. Welcome, Kathy. We are so glad to have you on our show today.
I'm thrilled to be with you. Thank you, Derrick.
Well, I have been looking forward to today for a long time, and ever since I met you, I have just been enamored with this bright smile, these large, happy eyes, and this cheery disposition that I see everywhere I go. And I've been watching and observing you now for just over 1 year, looking eagerly for all these people that are coming in to the broadcast every Sunday morning and often on Thursday nights, and beelining your way over to them and getting to hear their story. And so I have been just so thankful that you would come on and share some of your experiences with us today.
I'm happy to be here.
Now, let's just talk first real quickly about what your function does, because it is so important, and yet it's quite broad, and it really is, the meat of the work really is behind the scenes. Would you just share with us this calling, what it does, what its purpose is, and how that has unfolded, and how you get to spend your time each week?
Thank you. I'm just delighted to. 4 years ago, when my husband and I received these callings downtown with music and the spoken word, I was called and set apart to be the greeter for the spoken word on Sundays and for the rehearsals on Thursdays. And the definition of it was evolving at that time, and I think it's pretty well emerged as something that's fairly fixed, although since it includes the entrance of hundreds and even thousands of people every single week, none of that can be set in stone very rigidly. That's going to be evolutionary by nature. It's people and their behaviors and their needs, and the expectations are going to vary from week to week. But as a result of that calling, I arrive early on Sunday, every Sunday and every Thursday, and station myself in the back to meet with a team of sisters from the Temple Square Mission who are my assistants. We work together as a team to meet and greet the scores of people who parade through those doors, fronts and sides and everywhere else. They come from all kinds of places and walks of life, mostly not members of the church, dressed every way you can imagine. On Sundays, there are plenty who are in their ski clothes expecting to squeeze in a little bit of Sabbath observance before they head off to the ski slopes. In the wintertime, when it's cold, sometimes there's someone right off to the streets who just wants a warm place to feel a warmth, which certainly is conspicuous in that location. Lots of people with who are there for professional seminars or family reunions or trips of all kinds. Recently, we've had huge amounts. You've seen these teams of people who are with the national parks tours. Yeah. So very often older people with lanyards around their neck, dressed in a sporty way on Thursdays and on Sundays, because that's the place to be. So all kinds of people. And my responsibility and great opportunity is to be back there at those doors, to open the doors after the choir has their opening prayer, and to welcome them in, to make sure that they know from the minute they cross that threshold that the Latter-day Saints are the nicest people in the whole world and that we're glad they're there. Well, and then to help them find their seats and feel glad they come.
And you certainly represent that well about the Latter-day Saints striving to be the nicest people in the world, or as President Nelson has said, these peacemakers, and seeking to do that. Now, tell us a little bit about these sister missionaries that you're working with, because that is very unique to you. You have this responsibility. Tell us about who they are, where they come from, what they represent, how many of them are there supporting you in fulfilling this work.
Thank you. They really are quite a secret weapon. And in reality, I feel I'm supporting them. Mm-hmm. They do the heavy lifting because they are the face that's the most critical for those people to see. Sometimes there's a misunderstanding among people who are not members of the church that there's a very narrow demographic of visible people who are running the show. And those young women's faces and their badges reflect the truth of who we are and what we embrace and who has prerogative to be serving and of influence. They're called as full-time missionaries for 1.5 years to serve with the Temple Square mission of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Full-time missionaries. They have the smallest geographic jurisdiction of any mission in the world.
A few city blocks.
That's exactly right. And I think during all of this construction time, it's even a little smaller. Right. But they maximize their space. And they're there to be the face of the church for anyone who wanders onto Temple Square or into the conference center or anywhere else that's that downtown couple of city blocks, the core city center of Mormon functionality, the Latter-day Saint Church Center. So I have a team of them, about 16 of them on Sundays, and 6 of them typically on Thursday nights for the rehearsals. It's on a rotating basis, so it's a different team every single Sunday and every single Thursday. They come and go like a revolving door, newcomers, oldies, and everything in between. And they really are from all over the world. I look at that little group of tremendous, willing, worthy, faithful, determined sisters that assemble in that observation room, media room, for an orientation before the service begins on Sunday and likewise on Thursday. And am fully inspired, clearly to the point of tears almost every single time as I look at those clean faces with the bright light in their eyes. Their badges reflect the missionary badge, the black missionary badge that we're accustomed to for missionaries all over the world, but they have that additional piece, the flag of the country from which they originate. And it's a sea of colors with those beautiful flags, which reflects to the people the breadth of their origin and also the languages they speak, so that people who speak various languages, which we have many of every single Sunday and Thursday, can gravitate to that Brazilian flag and speak in Portuguese and know they'll be understood, or any other language practically on the planet. And if by chance there isn't a young woman who speaks that language on location at that moment, they can quick radio to someone who's on the square, someone else who will hustle over to give them a private assist in their native language. It's really a very powerful thing.
Wow. You know, as you say that, I'm recalling just a couple of weeks ago where by my count, we had perhaps in the audience as many as 40 or 50 different languages being spoken that day, where we had so many diplomats and others that were gathered in Utah for some event to come. And it really is a representation of the nations of the earth that is found here on Temple Square from these amazing sisters. Now, I'm curious if you've seen this board or not. My mind is going back. There is in the ever reaches of the backstage of the conference center, there is a little room that is an alleyway, and it has a massive whiteboard where all of these sisters have signed their names over the years. Have you seen this?
Yes, I have.
I kind of feel like we need to give you a marker and have you go sign your name, having been there with them for all of these years. But I love that little whiteboard. I've only seen it once or twice as I'm being taken through this sea of tunnel to go somewhere. It's really a neat thing, again, representing and showing.
It's really
these
quite a
smiling
provocative
faces.
sermon, isn't it?
Isn't it? It is.
To represent who they are, but who we are as a church.
Yeah.
Those young women are parts of families and wards and branches all over the planet, which clearly indicates, in fact, there are congregations of these people who are seated in this, either in the Tabernacle or in the Conference Center, doing something similar somewhere else around this globe at this very moment on a Sunday morning. It's really a powerful and provocative thing to consider.
It is. Now, as you have had opportunity to greet these people that are coming and joining us, which we're so very thankful for, and most are aware, music in the spoken word is recorded live. It is broadcast live. It's a live studio audience that's there. As you're meeting these people on Thursdays and Sundays, why do they come? And is there ever a change after they leave, after they've had a chance to sit and to listen and to feel of the music?
I think a more apt question would be, is there ever not a change? I think it's
Tell us about that.
unmistakable and irresistible. Most of them come for very secular reasons. The preponderance of those who enter those doors are not dressed in their Sunday best. And they come because Google said this is a must-see in Salt Lake City. It's free, come as you are, come and go as you want. It's all really very flexible. They'll be nice to you. They're great bathrooms. I mean, the whole gamut of reasons. But it's a tourist must-see when they're here. And even when they have conferences, professional conferences, very often it's written into the schedule because the people who are staging the conferences know that they'll be upping their reviews if they put this on the list. It's such a crowd pleaser. Who can resist that spectacular music and all those nice people? So everybody does themselves a favor. There are bus drivers who do tours through Salt Lake City, and of their own accord, they route through that and put that on the schedule, even if it's not included.
At that time, that day.
At that time, they strategize their schedule in order to make sure that their people land at Music and the Spoken Word on Sunday or at the rehearsal on Thursday night because they know it's going to bump their rating so high. They love it. They say there's not a person who leaves that place without having been glad to have come. And how they change when they're there is really profound. I always ask the sisters, make sure that you speak to them as they leave too. Those interactions sometimes, in my opinion, are perhaps even more important than the ones as they come in. Ask them, we're so glad you came. We hope you enjoyed it. And every time, the very least they'll get is, oh, my heart, or oh, I felt something I've never felt before. I've never experienced anything like this. And in my opinion, that's the flickerings of a testimony. It's the first spark of some sort of faith or understanding of identity or proximity to heaven or recollection of who they really are. So I think those testimonies, you might say, as they leave are really significant. May I share one
Please.
experience that I'll never forget?
Please.
There was a woman who arrived, and I saw her as she came in the door, and she was all by herself, very professional looking, very attractive, very well dressed. And I thought, I'm curious who that woman is. I have the luxury of making my way around and targeting a few people here, and that I've never found that anyone takes any offense. They seem happy for the attention. As I approached her, she looked at me, and our eyes met. And as they did, there was a certain cloud that came over hers, and she turned abruptly and beelined it a different direction. And I thought, oh, she's meeting someone, or she forgot something, or she's got something else on her mind. I didn't take it personally, certainly. I'd never met her. She'd never met me. There was nothing to take personally. But the stunning thing was that at the end of that performance on Sunday, I went back to the back again to bid them their farewells. And I saw out of the corner of my eye that same woman looking at me. And as I turned to look at her, she, this time, beelined toward me instead of away from me. And when she got to my side, I didn't say anything initially. I didn't know quite where to begin. And clearly she had something on her mind. But immediately she said, I'm here to apologize. At which point I, of course, immediately reassured her, you don't owe me any apology. Nothing to apologize for. She said, oh, I do. She said, I entered this place and looked at you and thought, oh, there's one of those Mormon women, and I'm not going to have anything to do with her. And she turned and got out of there as fast as she could. But she said, I sat here for 30 minutes and listened to that music and that marvel and felt the strength of whatever it was that was distilling over my soul. And I thought, I am wrong. I need to apologize. And after the apology, she said, I learned something that I'll never forget. Your Jesus is my Jesus, and my Jesus is your Jesus, and we're sisters. Please forgive me. And that was powerful. And I have a feeling there are plenty that sense something like that may not articulate it quite as artfully as she did or with as much determination, but that feel it. They can feel it. It redefines who we are, and it redefines who they are, almost without exception.
That is an incredible experience, and what a beautiful visual. My Jesus is your Jesus, and your Jesus is my Jesus. And isn't that true? It's something that we believe and that we feel, and we're grateful for all persons of faith who come, regardless of why they come, but grateful whenever we can see that there's been a feeling of peace or of hope or conviction or connection or you name it, any of these good, positive spiritual feelings, all of which come from above. And
Absolutely.
A beautiful manifestation. Thank you.
One fellow came to me and said, I came because my grandmother would have killed me if I hadn't. She came here when she was a little girl, and she said she'd never forget it. And that was 70 years ago or whatever. And he said, so I couldn't return home to my grandmother and tell her I never showed up. But he said, now that I've been here, I can say I came because of me. I thought I was doing this for my grandmother, but I did it because of me. I'm the one who benefited.
Wow. Drop by drop, one soul at a time,
There you go.
One story at a time. Speaking of stories, let's go back just a little bit. You have, I know a little bit of your incredible story, but you have had just a wonderful life's worth of experiences of seeking to be close to heaven, asking what you might do to serve, and putting your head down and going to work. And you are a worker. You and your husband are workers. And I'd love to hear just a little bit about some of your church service, some of the things that you've done, maybe even particularly spending so much time in South America, and how you had to work to be prepared and ready to thrive in that moment, because it was something new and foreign and a complete different language even than you had previously had experience
That's true.
with.
Well, we have worked, but I hesitate to even use the word. It's been so joyful. And speaking of energy, no one keeps up with you, Mr. Derrick Porter.
I would contest that.
We're running as fast as we can to keep a pace in any event. I'm a Salt Lake City girl, was born and raised here, and raised in a family that they were not members of the church. But I had the sweet blessing of breathing this air and being surrounded by all kinds of people who showed me what it looks like to live the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it found its space in my soul very early on as a little girl. I was not allowed to be baptized when I was 8, but later on as a teenager, then I was afforded that sweet blessing. And I then, after graduation from the University of Utah, I met and married my California Prince Charming, and we promptly rode off into the western sunset to raise a family there. We had our 7 kids in Southern California and would be living there still, very likely. But as real dark horse candidates and out of the blue, we received first an interview with Elder Maxwell and then a phone call from President Hinckley calling my husband to be a General Authority 70, which meant being assigned in either one of the 15, the number of areas changes over time, but I believe it's 15 currently, one of the 15 international areas serving in the area presidency, or on location in Salt Lake City serving in the departments of the church. The transfer days come every April after April General Conference. They're like missionary transfer days, and they tell us where they'd like us to be for the coming year. So our first assignment was Salt Lake City. We packaged up those 7 single kids, moved to Salt Lake City, and we're here for a year. The next transfer day, they asked us to go to Argentina. I didn't speak any Spanish, and but I eagerly went with enthusiasm, of course, thrilled for the opportunity for my husband, and confident that, in fact, heaven would not render me useless, that there was a big kingdom to build and lots of work to do, and if I had a willing heart and an open mind and a determined spirit, that he'd grant me the capacity and the opportunity I needed to find my way to make a contribution. I wasn't called to do anything, but I actually chose to believe that that was a high and holy opportunity to get the information directly from heaven. So in any event, we went to Buenos Aires, to the South America South area, for him to serve in the area presidency there. And I was a little lost initially, just grateful to be there and thrilled at the opportunity, but not sure what it was, what the particulars of it were, and determined to find out. I didn't, like I say, speak Spanish, and without the language, there's this tremendous limitation to my capacity to offer a voice, certainly. I memorized lots of words in Spanish. I had a good memory for that and loved music, so that was a good musical start for what we do now. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't give a sermon to save my life. Anyway, after being there just for 3 months, I was called by the CES director of the area to teach early morning seminary in Spanish. And thank goodness I have a fairly strong emotional continence, or I'd had a nervous breakdown right then and there. But I figured,
and rightly so,
I'd find my way forward with the help of heaven, mostly with the help of heaven. And with that generous assist, and because of the worthiness and the need, the appropriateness of those kids, having someone who could meet them where they were and offer them an advance to their faith. I didn't want to be a language learning project for them. It was about them, not about me. But with their love and with the help of heaven and my own tears and best efforts, it came. So I did teach seminary for the whole time that we served down there, and learned Spanish in the process, which has proven to be a great benefit going forward. The people in the back of that room on Sundays and Thursdays always include plenty of Spanish speakers who are glad for some funny old blondie who's glad to meet them in their native tongue.
Well, I've witnessed that work, and I understand from your husband that you, to become ingrained with this culture and these people and this assignment that you had as a couple to be in Argentina, would go out on the street day after day and talk to anybody that would listen to you about anything that you could come up with to hone in and work on those skills. Is that right?
It was a real offense to my dignity, but oh well. I had a mission to accomplish, so what's dignity?
Well, and it certainly paid off, because now I have watched you in Santiago, Chile, in Buenos Aires, in Lima, Peru, and other places be able to speak in that native tongue to these people, and the eyes are bright and they are listening. Another one of your many, many wonderful gifts is that of being a very accomplished and gifted writer. And how has learning to express yourself through writing helped you to understand the world differently? Again, every week you are dealing with the people of the world, many dozens of nations every single week. How has that helped you?
That's a great question. I like to think of language as connective tissue. So I would hope that the most significant use of language for me is not to proclaim my knowledge or my point of view, but rather to ask questions and to understand what someone else has to offer. I like to think that it's a tool to access and operationalize curiosity. I have found, perhaps more so the older I get, that everybody has a story and that I can learn something from what everybody on this planet has to say. So language has been the vehicle that has enabled me to ask the question and receive the information that then qualifies me and equips me to be better able to ask a better question the next time around. It's connective tissue for me. And writing is very similar. It's not two-way so much, not so immediately, although often it does prompt some sort of feedback that then promotes that conversation. But it's a way to clarify my own thoughts and my own problem-solving processes and to make sense of my personal experiences, to try to find meaning in my own experiences. So my quest with language is to take the everydayness of life and see in it something divine and useful and productive for moving forward with greater faith and capacity.
You know, in many ways, your life has just begun. I once heard President M. Russell Ballard in first person say the following. He said, life doesn't even begin until you're 70.
Oh, there's something to that.
And I watch this life that you're living now, and I'm amazed because sometimes I'll call your husband or what have you, and he says, I'm out on my 6-mile-a-day walk with Kathy. Or other times I'll ask what you did a certain day or whatever, and I understand you're there in the gym playing pickleball multiple days a week. What is the value of exercise and physical work and getting outside and doing those things? And how does it aid you and help you even in fulfilling the calling you have now, but also this eternal calling as mother, as a spouse to an incredible companion? How does this aid you and help you?
These are such thoughtful questions. Thank you, Derrick. Well, again, I think our bodies are precious tools, precious tabernacles for the spirit within. And I'm determined to do everything I know how to do to preserve functionality. And I think science has proven and continues to prove with ever more determination that exercise and nature are tremendous contributions to the strength of our physicality and the capacity of our minds and even our emotions. That we're more joyful, we're more grateful, we're more stress-free with nature and with exercise. So I'm trying to do my part so that when I plead for more days, as many as possible, I don't want to go any sooner than I need to, that I will have done my part and I can ask for that help with confidence that I'm doing everything I know to do to qualify myself for the heavenly help that would be essential for whatever days are mine to be lived and loved and embraced.
Thank you. And how fitting today as we're recording this, not the day it airs.
101.
But our good prophet, President Nelson, turning 101 today. Isn't that truly unparalleled and nearly unthinkable?
Talk about an example. And there's another one.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you came into this organization at a time when a lot of change was occurring. For the previous 170-odd years, there had been a president of the Tabernacle Choir. Mm-hmm. And then, under President Nelson's direction, there was time for a change to be had, and that was to bring a president and counselors, much like any other ecclesiastical organization might be within the church.
Yes.
And then there was a desire also for the spouses of these counselors and the president to have meaningful roles and contributions. And you've talked about receiving a calling and being set apart and being given a charge and a mandate. What are some of the, how have you seen, what are some of the changes and how have you seen this broadcast grow over these last 4 years? How have you seen that continue to evolve and to expand?
Well, that has been a really blessed ringside seat to occupy, and I've been so appreciative of it. It's really spurred all kinds of thoughts and admiration and gratitude. I do that in the back, up front, and then just before it begins, as you know, prior to your coming onto stage, then I do an additional welcome piece that includes an interview and some recognition of the people in the auditorium, not just the VIPs, but the VIPs with the lowercase v too, to give a shout out to everyone who's come. So it's a really sweet perspective to see it from the back and to see it from the front, and then to see it from behind the scenes yet a little more as I work with my husband in various other kinds of capacities, doing as what he's doing, not doing his job, obviously,
Sure.
but at his side. Yeah. That's a sweet vantage point as well. It's sweet to me to see that the preservation of the heart and soul of what is and has always been music and the spoken word persists. Someone said, and I don't know who it was, and I wouldn't even say if I did, that as all of this vision was unfolding, that it was essential not to mess with classic Coke.
That is, I can confirm
I'm sure.
that I have heard this same analogy, and that it's true and that it's right.
Thank you. So I'm glad I'm not speaking amiss.
You are not.
But that's brilliant, I think, with a lot of implication to it. And I think the preservation of the music, the integrity and the core of the music has been that classic Coke, and the core of the messaging as well, with the format of the way the spoken word piece fits within that, all of that, the proportions and all of that have remained the same, kind of like the ingredients of the classic Coke. Yeah. So that's really been beautiful. This new presidency has brought a new perspective, and as you say, some cohesion, cooperative with other ecclesiastical jurisdictions across the church. The president prior to this new presidency, as you say, was just one, and I think he was typically an in-house guy, someone that had been a member of the choir and had real deep understanding of the tradition and all of that. This new presidency, no, none of them have been in the choir. I think they're all three music lovers, but that's about as far as their integration goes. And I think that newness was just brilliant. One might say prophetic for President Nelson to bring these three men with their different perspectives on board to add a whole nother look at possibilities. So it's very much the same in all the ways that speak to us and that we love and are allegiant to, and that the whole world is. But at the same time, the reach of it has been extended dramatically, and I think we're only scratching the surface. Part of that, I think, has been responsive to the vision of these magnificent three men, and part of it has been responsive, I think, to the moment in time, where there are all kinds of opportunities via the internet and technological advances that make that possible. So it's kind of a beautiful, perfect storm to preserve the best of what's always been, and then to add this vision that's a little bit from outside, coupled with modern technology, to extend the reach to many more welcome and ready recipients of it.
As you think about the work that has been done and is still to be had, which is massive and huge, I've heard you use a Clayton Christensen business term a number of times over the last year, and I love it because not many people know what JTBD stands for. But I've heard you say, what is the job to be done here, JTBD? How have you seen that job be done? And is there any other stories or experiences that you might share of the job being done that you've witnessed?
Oh, that's a profound question, and I won't dive into it with any depth. We'd be here all day. But the job to be done is to touch the hearts of people one soul at a time. And I think even as the grandeur persists and is perpetuated and ever increased with the reach and the scope of all of this, we would want to preserve the one soul at a time reality of the way conversion occurs, the way connection to heaven occurs. It's one soul, one single person, one experience, one thought, one feeling at a time, and one recognition of that feeling. So the grandeur is wonderful and is magnificent because there are a lot of sons and daughters of God who deserve what heaven would desire for them to receive. And the palatability of the offering packaged in music and a brief word is just irresistible. Who doesn't want that? Who can't feel it? Who can't experience it and respond to it? And frankly, the fact that they sit there in the combination of hundreds or even thousands of others makes it much less aggressive or threatening. Mm-hmm. It's their own private experience. I think it's just a little surface scratch by the music up front to enable the Spirit to then reach down from heaven and penetrate that heart one at a time. So I think the job to be done is to till the soil of the souls of mankind, one person at a time, to open that space so that the seed can be sown by the Spirit from heaven. And then the wonder of the work can occur from there with that little seed beginning to germinate.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, before we end our time, as you mentioned, we could stay for another 6 hours or longer and keep talking about this, and I would love that. But I'd like to talk for just a moment about this very thing that you're bringing out right now, which is the one. When you're there on a Sunday morning, if you turn around, which you do on occasion, and you look up and you see 360-ish choir members and you see 100-ish orchestra members, and you'll know that there's 50-ish behind the stage technical crew and personnel that never see the light of the day out there on the stage, but without them it's impossible. And then you have 16 of these sister missionaries back there. What is the impact of the one on the masses? The impact of the one soul choir member sitting there on the far right side that may not see the camera that often. Yeah. What is their impact, and how have you seen the impact of that one make a difference to the one?
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. I hope you won't mind my adding to that just a little.
Please, no.
So there are also the 100 people in the orchestra,
yes,
which are additional ones united in a whole. And then there are the ones that are seated out there in the congregation that are the ones united in this sea of faces, attentive and listening. And all of those grand groups are significant and critical for the whole. But the reason that brilliant piece was added by the presidency to do this interview was really to address exactly what you're talking about, to highlight the one. I got so many people's responses or inquiries in the back, and they were a little testy sometimes, that said, I look up there at that sea of matching dresses and matching lipstick colors, and they're all the same. And then, of course, the orchestra, all in their black, and they're all the same. And I thought, I think they're missing something that's really critical. And that's when the interview thing was introduced, so that one of those could be brought forward to a seat, and I or one of the others would talk to them for 5 minutes is all, just barely, to paint a picture or to open a little bit of a window, pull back the curtain just ever so slightly so that all of those people out there listening and watching could see, she's got her own story, or wow, he's really different, or she seems out of the box, or whatever they think. And the hope is, I think, that when those individuals see that one person, and then that one person resumes their spot at the boom, or with the camera, or in the orchestra, or in the second basses, wherever it is, they'll watch that person and think, and then they become part of the whole. And I'm one person too, sitting here as part of the whole, but I am one person. And that person has a story, and I have a story. And that person, all of those people are temple recommend holding, valiant, determined, deferential saints. And the hope is, in my opinion, that one person sitting out there can think, I could be a valiant, determined, committed devotee to my God too, who is also their God. And they're not all alike, and I'm out of the box, but maybe there's room for me. So I think that's how it happens.
Thank you. Thank you. I can imagine you standing in front of these groups and telling them about the importance of the one and why they matter and their individual contribution, because this world is made up of the one, of billions of the ones, but the beautiful diversity, the richness, the life experiences, the stories, while they're not all told simultaneously at once, they are felt. They're witnessed. They're seen as you see the eyes and the faces and the smiles, and as you feel the song of their heart come out, both songs that are sung and ones that are unsung, but that you can feel there is such a strength, there is such a hope, and there is such a purpose that comes from this. Kathy, I have enjoyed so very much our time today and getting to hear you and your experiences and to learn from you. Is there any final thoughts or comments that you would share about your time with the Tabernacle Choir and Orchestra at Temple Square, what it's meant to you, what it's done for you, and maybe a song that it's given you in your own heart that you'll carry with you for the rest of your days?
In my college years, I worked at a floral shop in between classes, and people had said, "Oh, you'll cease to be able to smell the roses," and frankly, I kind of did.
Interesting.
I walked into that floral shop, and the aroma of all of those fresh flowers was pungent and sweet, almost intoxicating. But after I'd been there a couple hours, I didn't feel it anymore. I wondered when I started down there with the choir, if I come every Thursday and every Sunday, hours every time, will I cease to feel the grandeur of this, the goodness of it, the import of it? Will it just be background? But I can say, really by way of personal experience and testimony, that it has not, that it's sweeter, it's more beautiful, it's more profound. It fills me with ever greater fullness and satisfaction. I love those people more. I love the being there more. I love you and everybody else who commits heart and soul to this cause that is so grand with so much potential. It's roses whose aroma grows ever sweeter with exposure. And I trust and believe that, in fact, it will be a tool to spread roses around the whole wide world, to build and bless and beautify lots of souls and lots of single would-be saints.
I don't know that we can end it any better than that. Roses whose aroma grows ever sweeter with exposure. The job to be done of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. Kathy, thanks so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.